Oh, see, I like this. This is right on you and not showing me. I like the front one.
Oh, no, I haven't.
Can you guys hear me?
There we go. That should. Now can you hear us, Margot?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. MJ, I apologize. Can you start again, please?
Yes, ma'am. All right, so for communications, we have officially launched all the big projects, which is School Start Times, Middle School Move, Reading for Life, and Academies of Anchorage. And so now we're transitioning into those updates or friendly reminders as needed. We did the Middle School Move friendly reminder update. I think it was last Friday. I can't remember. It's all merged together, but I think it was last Friday we did the update. And then we're going to continue to kind of address and focus in on those 4 projects as needed for those updates. We launched Attendance Matters, which is the attendance messaging that you all discussed last year and asked us to put some additional energy behind. So that's been launched as well. It's specifically picked up on social where we're doing those kudos. Member Wilson attended some of those kudos as well. We also are going to be doing some text messages, direct text messages to families about attendance matters and just giving them those little milestone kudos and acknowledgements. We've got monthly tips coming out just based on the behavior, really sort of kind of zeroing in on the time of the year and helping students and families support getting kiddos to school. We are moving away from that 90% goal. We have found that it is just confusing when we're trying to explain attendance and the value of attendance. And so we're hyper-focusing just on those students. The 90% goal is still in play, but in terms of messaging it tends to confuse folks. So we're taking that off the table in terms of our talking points and our messaging and just hyper-focusing in on the students' performance moving forward. So those are the big game projects that we have launched, and now we're going to be just in that friendly reminder mode. We've got our team is working with academics and operations on some outreach plan for the Diamond Estate communities next Thursday. So that's in motion as well. More to come on that. Our goal is to launch ASD Connect next Friday, hopefully. We do have some winter weather forecast for us tomorrow, so we're going to be doing a Team ASD courtesy today for folks just to make them aware. We're going to be activating our overnight road checks tonight as well, and getting our buses winterized in preparation for that. So it's just a courtesy to families and staff that if they're not aware, we've got some icy conditions possibly tomorrow morning. So we want to just get people in motion. It's also a great opportunity to remind folks to make sure that they've downloaded the ASD app and they've got their settings set for those types of notifications as well. We hit up Principal Appreciation Month last week. That provided some really good engagement in highlighting our principals. We also hit up Indigenous Peoples Day, as well as we snuck in anti-bullying thank you member Jacobs. We were able to get that in. We also started doing sports highlights and giving kudos to our sports teams have made some real good, solid achievements this season. So we wanted to make sure that we were giving them some kudos and thank you to member lessons for playing a part in that. I think last month as well. We're doing more with sports and those types of highlights, but more to come on that. November is Alaska Native Heritage Month, so we're working closely with our migrant and our Indigenous education teams to provide that support and messaging as we move along in the month of November. And finally, tomorrow, we've got a great partnership event with our fifth graders. It's called the Slam Dunk to Higher Ed. We are busing over thousands, I think about 2,000 to 3,000 fifth graders tomorrow over at UAA at Alaska Airlines Center, starting at 11 till 1 p.m.
I'm very excited. My fifth grader's going, and trust me, these classes are stoked about this.
So this is part of just strengthening our partnership with UAA. We really worked hard over the summer, made some really good connections and relationships, and this was just an idea that came out of that partnership. Excuse me. And idea came out about, okay, well, you know, we talk about that pipeline from public school into higher education. We've highlighted in CCL and hyper-focused it in on the Academies of Anchorage program project. And so this is just an idea that came up to try and lean into that. We've not done it before, so this is our hope is that this will continue on an annual basis, but between UAA and us, we really pulled together what I think is going to turn out to be a cool engagement event for our students. So
That's awesome.
Is that all of our fifth graders?
no, it's not everybody's signed up. We opened it up to all fifth graders and let those families decide if they wanted to have their student participate or not. So we got a good percentage of our fifth graders going to attend, but not all of them.
So it's open up to individual parents.
We opened it up to all fifth graders.
All fifth
And
graders,
yeah, and then we notified their families that this event was happening and that if they were interested in having their student participate, to let us know. And so we set up a deadline for that, and we got that information in by mid-October, so we could start planning accordingly, meaning the capacity at the Alaska Airlines Center, as well as bus transportation, and making sure those logistics are worked out. So in terms of the logistics of the bus transportation, we have a really short window to make this happen, because we also have dismissal for the rest of our students in the district as well. So if you want to do a hyper-focused story on logistics and bus transportation, this is a great opportunity. I won't support that, but if you're interested and you want to nerd out, it's the bus transportation folks have, I mean, it's just amazing how they figured out this logistics, but it really looks like it's going to be a real cool experience for our students, and really highlighting that partnership that we have with UAA, and also highlighting our Academies of Anchorage in a way. So that's it for me.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
You guys have been doing some wonderful work. Thank you. You had a question?
I have a request. I was looking, I find the CCL webpage helpful and interesting, and I learn a lot and I share it. It doesn't, however, visibly identify UAA, AEDC, United Way, and the Chamber as our partners. And I just think having some logos referring, well, I'll
For
leave it to you to
convenience.
implement, but if you could please highlight in the way I've seen it highlighted elsewhere, just that, yes, we're working with for next generation learning, but also, and in particular, these are our core, just, I don't know.
For conveners.
Yeah, I think probably, are you saying like the concept that we had at the community convening where we acknowledged our partners
It just,
like
it's
that?
it's nowhere on,
Yeah,
you know, if you're spending 10 seconds on the page, I want people to see, I think people should see that UAA is a partner,
Yeah,
that
It's a great.
had the other ones,
It's a
so,
great.
you know, however you wanna do that, that's just, I've had a couple of community members say, why are you know, what's going on here?
thank you, yeah.
Member Jacobs?
Yeah, first to dovetail off of Member Lesson's point, in addition, I don't know that I looked for the same list and I couldn't find it, and so it was on my mental list to check in with someone about at some point. If this isn't on the page already, I would ask that we add this too. But I've had a couple companies approach me and ask to be a partner. And so if we're going to add the list of current partners, adding information as to how they can help sign on to this coalition, I think might be helpful too. So that's kind of one bucket of thought that I had. And then moving to just a primary comment, MJ, thank you so much for all the work you and your team are doing. I hadn't, hearing all the major initiatives we've got going on in a list, it's just, it's a lot right now. And so I'm grateful for you and your staff. Because it's not just making the changes, it's also making sure our community stakeholders, our families, our education professionals, our students are aware of everything that's happening, and we're able to funnel feedback back and forth. Do you have any thoughts about how the current structure of the comms team, which I know is kind of revised as of this year, is working? Do you have the resources you need?
You know what, hey, thanks for the question, Member Jacobs. I'm solid with the team. We just got our final new person on board this month. Hans, it's been with us, I think, 2 weeks now. So the communications set is complete, and so now it's working on getting the team organized and all that sort of stuff. So always could use more help, but that's across the board with anything. But I'm solid, and I'm just excited to develop the team and build it and grow it based on the resources that the district has provided.
Thank you. And Madam Chair, just a quick follow-up.
You bet.
Awesome. Thank you. So appreciate that, MJ. If that changes, please, whether it be in or outside of the communications meeting, please let us know, because again, as we undertake these transformational changes as a district, something I want to avoid as much as we can is hearing, I didn't know X, Y, or Z was happening. And so we are doing a really great job of trying to mitigate that to the extent that we can, knowing that reaching everyone is a really, really tall task. But you guys are doing a great job, so thank you for that. And certainly the board has responsibility there. And so I see us doing that same work too. And then just a quick shout out. I saw on our socials that we've highlighted anti-bullying month in October and Red Ribbon Week, and those proposals are important to me. So I appreciate those getting a shout out and seeing how we're celebrating those in ASD. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks. I forgot to mention Red Ribbon Week. So that's a partnership with the National Guard, and we're at 3 schools this week. And today is the final one over at Muldoon. And so we've been highlighting that on social. And we plan to have a Team ASD video from Muldoon's presentation. But again, just a partnership with the DEA and the National Guard and other partners for this annual event. So that's it.
The attendance matters. I know, thank you for putting that out on social media as well, because it was really nice to have the staff recognized for the work that they were doing with the students to increase attendance. So I appreciated that, and I know they appreciated that very much. So
Yeah,
when I
thanks.
attended it, it was really cool. I also wanted to point out that you guys have been doing a lot of amazing videos, short videos that are really descriptive, really visual. I love them. They've been fantastic. And I see a lot of work being done in that arena, so thank you for that too. Any other questions, comments for all the amazing work that Cox team is doing right now? Pivot over to community engagement. Shanice, you're in the hot seat.
Well, we have a few things going on in November. For instance, I had the diversity committee meeting for the Anchorage Chamber yesterday, which I was already a part of, so it kind of worked when I came into this position. Which I didn't know ASD was chambers members, so that's awesome because I do a lot with the chamber. And then we have the Alaska Public Media, the Parent Advisory Committee. That's tonight. That one I'm not attending because I know that EAL is attending. So I think we kind of like take on that whenever Tony may not be here, they'll step in and sometimes they'll go together. And then on the 15th, we have the BIPOC Nonprofit Affinity Group presentation, which we are actually going to have CCL present at. We thought that would be a great opportunity for them to present to one of our like community partners at their presentation. So that's going to be really awesome. I can't wait to see that. And then we have MCAC. MCAC went really well last month, and CCL is also speaking there as well this month. And I know that Tony was trying to get Jenna from AEDC to come and speak. Like they did a short presentation as a community convening and then have CCL speak right after, kind of to tie those two things in for everyone. And then the Covenant House Candlelight Visual is also happening November 17th. And if you don't know what that is, it's where they highlight homelessness among teenagers and a lot of like remembering some that have passed away. Then you have the Black Business Expo, which is on a Saturday. Lisa, I cannot think of her last name. Is it Tago from HR? She's actually going to share a table with me because I was like, I think that would be a great opportunity for her to like recruit for like employees because it is a business expo. So like, why not? And then we have the education panel on the 18th, and that is at the Alaska Native Heritage Center. I think Tony's going to actually be on the panel, but we're also going to have a table there and have brochures there as well. And then we found out about the Indigenous Fashion Show. They have 3 coming up, but the first one this month is for the high school. So we're going to have a resource table with like volunteer information. I know that CCL said they have a trifold, so I'm trying to get a few of those put on the table. So another place for parents to get more information about it. And then like any other like resources that needs to go on the table. Anything else that we think information that parents need. I think that's it. We have a few things in the email, but that's for December.
I love that we have a list of items that the district is participating in outreach. Oh my gosh.
That's
So
awesome.
this is such a nice addition that has come to this committee. So thank you for that work, MJ too.
Well, I have an addition.
Yes.
So we are so we're doing the True Colors documentary that was on Bartlett. So next Wednesday, Principal Prince is doing an in-house showing for his students and coordinating with the filmmaker. And then next on the 16th, November 16th, there is a True Colors community showing at 6 o'clock at Bartlett. And the Rasmussen Foundation and UAA are helping us support that event. There'll be a panel discussion afterwards. So working with Principal Prince on that event, but it'll be on the 16th at 6 p.m. Doors will open at 5:30.
Two points of order and future requests. So we happen to have a goals and guardrails discussion on the 16th from 4 to 6 p.m. which is not aligned with the True Colors documentary. And also the Indigenous Fashion Show is scheduled for a board meeting. So not that the world should revolve around the board commitments, but if board members had wanted to attend, it'd be really nice to not
Have to be
obligated to ditch the board meeting
Yeah.
in order to attend and
Yes, thank you, noted.
2 cents, take it as you.
Yeah, there will be more, so.
Are there going to be additional opportunities?
Yeah, so I think
to
that's,
True Colors
yeah, so
documentary?
we're working on trying
Okay.
to,
I think he's also showing it at the film festival.
yeah, so
Okay.
that's right, so
Great.
it's submitted to the Anchorage Film Festival for next month. And there'll be a showing there, but our goal is to showcase more opportunities, so the 16th is one, there'll be more that we'll work on trying to host. We're trying to work with Bears Tooth to host a community showing as well, so it's more to come, it just happens to be
It's not the end all.
no.
Okay, because I'm looking for my opportunity to see it.
No.
Because I've seen the teaser and it's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, we'll do better at that, thank
This
you.
is how I overbook myself.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. President Bellamy.
Yeah, well, member lessons covered the points I wanted to cover about the dates. Like, we have a meeting on the 21st and then we got something else on the 16th. Could we have this list, Amanda? Could we put it in Board Connect so that we'll have it? I'm just trying to figure, or do we wanna, I'm just trying to figure out how to track it.
It's attached to this agenda, but I can ask Katie to put it in Board Connect if that's what you would prefer.
Well, but then they all have dates and time. Yeah, I guess, and then board members can choose. Let's put it in Board Connect and board members can decide
Or
if they want to.
all of these events on the board calendar.
Can we put them on the board calendar?
Yeah, that's not a problem.
So that way, if there's more than
Yep.
three of us that want to attend, we
Yep,
can.
I will just go ahead and do that.
That would be great.
And I will
Okay.
send it to all of your emails.
Thanks, Margot.
Okay, and let's see, I had another thought. Oh, well, it left me. I'll come back. I'll when it
Raise your
comes
hand
back
when
to
you're
me.
back. Any other questions or comments for the moment, at least for the community engagement?
I
You have a
meant to
comment?
say something
Yes,
else.
of course.
So I did sit down and break down the definition of what community engagement is. And I've developed a little graphic and I have Tony looking at it for the final piece. So that's just something to let you guys know that that's coming up, because I was like, well, what is community engagement? Let's look at that. And so I kind of broke it down into a definition and a graphic that we can put on the website so that way people know exactly what it is, what ASD sees as community engagement.
Nice. Thank you. So, Margot, did you remember your thought? Before we move on?
Go on, I can't remember.
All right. There's a phrase in Spanish for that, se te fue la onda. So, ASD 2024 legislative priorities. So President Bellamy, I'm going to pivot to you on that one.
Okay, and I guess I need input. We just need to decide, we need to just have a discussion to make sure that, because I think we need to tweak, we need to probably, we're gonna keep the 3 Bs. And I think we just need to tweak them. And I don't know, Amanda, can you pull up the website where those are? 'Cause I didn't
Yeah.
even think to have you, so the last year we had a pretty slick trifold, was it a trifold? Wait,
I brought a printout.
oh, okay, great. So, and it had a lot of information in it. So it had our fast facts in the middle. Is that the one you got, MJ?
Yeah, yes, I did, but I'll send you a digital copy. I brought a hard copy for you to look at, but we got some additional space to review on just additional content, but you're right, the trifold on the back had the fast facts. Inside, we had the legislative district map, so
Yes. Mhm.
So those members could understand which schools fell in their district along with the legislative priorities.
Okay. So and so that's that would be the document that we take to Juno to distribute with the priorities. So I guess if we could look at the priorities and make sure that they're all still in play or represent our collective thinking. If not, now is the time, because MJ is going to need to the team is going to need to really work on getting this all together for the next month. So we're about a month out from the legislative luncheon. So under base student allocation, I know you guys can read it. I'm gonna read it out loud just so you can hear it again. Reverse 7 years, now that's 8 years of declining education funding by changing the statutory formula to be a fair, inflation-adjusted BSA. Update the funding formula by directing a state-funded institute of Social and Economic Research, that's ICER, study of the district cost factor. And I know we've talked a lot about this cost factor, and maybe not, at least in some of the legislative groupings, there's a feeling of maybe not going forward with that, but these are our priorities. If we want to leave it, we leave it. Prioritize the recruitment and retention of highly qualified educators by providing a competitive retirement and health benefits and a pension plan that addresses the statewide teacher shortage. Support post-secondary opportunities in order to build an Alaska-based educator pipeline. And then the last one under the base student allocation is support student and staff wellness, mental health, and safety by supporting practices that support the whole child. And then it lists those practices and restorative justice practices. Is that still our collective position? Any discussion?
Member Lessons.
So, without getting too much into the weeds, it may be, I like the weeds, but I live there most of the times. But the collaboration between the ASD and our assembly partners, that working group,
Yeah.
we are working on a joint message, a resolution, which it will be nice if that aligned with the legislative priorities, and there's not a lot of dissension, but for example, the figure that I have now in front of me is that a base student allocation, a one-time reset, needs to be $1,413 per student. I feel like that's a very important figure to begin to circulate. And
But I thought we had decided earlier, well, maybe this was before you, that we would not we do that at the AASB, we put a figure there, but I don't know that we've ever put a figure in our priorities.
And this speaks to a need, I think we have to make sure our parents and community members understand the scale, the magnitude of the deficit. I don't know. I think it's useful to be specific about ASD's need, and that's just to maintain operations. That's not necessarily adequate funding. That's just to maintain operations. So we're 60% of the way there on a draft, the ASD assembly draft.
Okay.
I'd be happy to send it over to MJ when it's a little farther along. I think we have our next meeting next week sometime. But I guess, that's one thought that I had. And another thought about the board goals is that if we're gonna have a meeting on the 16th to refine the board goals, that might need to be reincorporated here as well.
Well, okay, the goals, yeah, but the goals are going, help me understand how you put the goals into this. I mean, I understand that.
Well, the board goals are right there, but if
Oh,
they-
yeah, right. Yeah, we're not talking about the goals, but they
No,
will, we will update them before they go into the document. Is that what you're
Right,
saying?
I'm just looking at the split screen right now, and one side says base student
Right.
allocation, the other one says board goals, so.
Yeah. Because our priorities are really built around our board goals. And there will be some edits to our goals, but I don't know that there's going to be any substantial changes to our goals. At least that's not where we were in June. But
Okay,
there will be some edits.
that's the bulk of my, I guess my reflection is that, it might be helpful to have a number that ASD knows that it needs, but I'll let other board members weigh in on whether that's useful or not.
Any staff in the room?
Just MJ and Shanice currently.
Okay. All right, and I'd like to hear what so okay, well okay, I'm just gonna collect the notes for now. I hear you saying to align with the statement that's coming out from the assembly.
Yeah, the forthcoming joint statement.
Joint resolution, and then adding a dollar amount. And I think, and adding a dollar amount. And so whatever that dollar amount is, I think I don't mind adding it somewhere, but I got to really think about adding it into the priorities. But because but we can think about that later. Let's just scroll up to the busing part. We're just trying to look at language today to make sure this is still where we are in terms of the legislative priorities. But I hear you, Kelly, you want to add a dollar amount as to what it would take for the state to uphold its promise.
And sorry, and because I got the weeds, right, so transportation hasn't increased from 481 per student since the 2015-16 school year, and we really need it to be 670 per student. So again, we have a figure, right? It shows the scale of the need.
And you think that those figures would be better in the actual priorities and not just as a talking point when we're meeting with the community and with legislators? I don't disagree that the figure is important.
I mean,
I just think that. I don't know who else is in the room.
I would interject and just say, if this year we got them to adjust for inflation for 1 year, we are a little bit higher in a deep hole. And it's good to remind the public that we're trying to come out of a hole that's been dug for years. And the 1,000 and some dollar figure gets us back on the ground level again. And then we should be adjusting for inflation.
And then we need additional.
Yeah, because I think back 10 years, 15 years, we're having these same discussions where we're just trying to get them to adjust for inflation and take whatever cuts we'd had or flat funding we'd had going forward. And here it is 15 years later, we're doing the same thing, kind of. I think we need to really keep it in front of the public and in front of the legislature that we need to, getting out of the hole is more important than adjusting for inflation at this point. We can always make that argument down the road a little bit, but at some point, this lack of pacing inflation just becomes structural and historic, and nobody takes any concern about it. So I think having that number in there matters a lot.
And thank you, Member Holloman. One of the points that came up in our joint meeting, again, this is a small working group, is that 8 years of this nearly static base student allocation has meant that nearly $49 million has been shifted from the state of Alaska to Anchorage taxpayers. There is a cost shift that taxpayers are absorbing. And a lot of people care about their taxes. So funding hasn't increased, but Anchorage's share of the pie has increased.
Right.
And if the BSA had increased, then the formula would have sort of unfolded differently. We wouldn't have had that cost shift
Mhm.
to Anchorage taxpayers. $49 million is a lot of money.
No, and I'm not disagreeing with that. All I'm saying, all I'm trying to do is keep our legislative priorities. If you want to put in increase student transportation by whatever amount, then that, if that's the will, if that's what you got, what we want to do, then that's what we do. But we can't in stating our priorities, I don't want people to get confused and upset. I mean, if you tell people, some people in this town, that their taxes have been increased because of the state not doing what, they're not going to blame the state. They're going to blame ASD. So I'm not adverse to controversy, but I do think we need to keep these as clear, as succinct as possible. So what is the figure you want, the amount of increase for transportation are we asking for? And how do you want that worded?
Well, that's whatever 670 minus, what did I say, 481?
I don't know. And where did you guys get these figures? Did it come from our staff?
Yeah, this comes from our CFO, who's been a part of these conversations with our assembly partners.
Okay, so under busing, we want to just specifically state increase student transportation funding by what amount? Or how do you want that to read?
Hold that thought, I'll get back to you.
Okay.
Okay, we're holding that thought. MJ, you had a comment?
Yeah, this is not about any amounts. I just wanted to throw it out there. Did you, in terms of language, when you're looking at your transportation, there was some discussion over the summer about adding language in the transportation category about barriers and access and equity. Is that something that you are still interested in adding in the transportation portion of this? I'll set where it came from, President Bellamy, was when we were discussing all the projects that we have in motion.
Right.
And the opportunities that we're creating for our students with these programs, the transportation factor and adjusting the language in the legislative priorities to reflect the barrier and the access and the equity conversations that come up around these programs that we are trying to implement.
And that is correct. And that is absolutely reflected in our work with the Joint Task Force for Transportation Transport or Safety Task Force. So yes, I think that should be because it's more providing transportation requires that we think about more than just paying for buses to get kids from A to B. There's a whole infrastructure that has to be supported. So I agree with that. And so we would have to put that somewhere here. So Kelly's working on, you're working on two things, Kelly, the busing.
Yeah. So I would say, since I see the busing, I mean, just briefly, it should say increase student transportation funding by no less than $189 per student.
Okay. Amanda, are you capturing this?
Can you email?
Yeah, I can email those two things. Which is, well, I think it can be shortened to the point.
No less than 189?
189 per student.
Okay. Per student. And then we would go on to adjust. Oh, wait.
Go to the base team.
That would be the adjustment, right?
Yeah, that would be the adjustment.
And require districts to reduce class. Okay. So that statement you just read would replace what we have under busing right now.
Well, I guess I would say increase student transportation funding by no less than $189 per student. Yes, and something like, and maintain it for inflation moving forward so that districts will not have, so that ASD will not have to reduce classroom funding. I mean, it'll be one line longer.
Got it. Okay. That's okay. And the other bullet under there would be, and I don't know, MJ, do you have any equity and infrastructure language right now, or shall we think about it?
No, it's just my scribbles from our conversation that I saved for this particular conversation. So I'll circle back with Amanda and download with her from my notes, and then she can get that in front of you guys for consideration.
Okay. All right.
So-
I'm sorry. So MJ, I don't want to lose what you just said, but
I got it saved. I saved my notes from the summer.
Okay.
And so I'll just download to Amanda, and then she can follow up with you all.
okay. All right. Sounds good.
All
right.
Base
Oh, I'm
student
sorry, Madam
allocation-
Chair.
Okay, go ahead. I just wanted to throw out there under base student allocation, the number 1. So I see the support post-secondary opportunities in order to build an Alaska-based educator pipeline. I support that, but I feel like we should add some sort of language. I don't have language in regard to our CCL work and our workforce development. So I think that should be added because, I mean, that's a lot of what we're moving.
If we put the word, let's see, support post-secondary opportunities, comma, including, because this was, we could
I don't want to eliminate that, so that's why I said add some language. to
add something in there to include, because the CCL is really expanding the, postgraduate opportunities, post-secondary opportunities. I don't know that, I mean, we're not, this is talking about building an Alaska-based educator pipeline. So we'll work on the language. It might need another bullet, but I'm not sure as I sit here right now.
I just wanted to throw out the
CCL.
thought, not the language. I don't have any language to offer right now.
Okay, thank you. All right, Cal, you ready?
Well, yeah, for the BSA, the first, I would bifurcate that first bullet point into 2. The first one would say, address the unprecedented financial challenges faced by ASD and districts across the state by passing immediate legislation to raise the BSA by no less than $1,413. And I don't have the next bullet point quite yet to deal with the inflation adjusted component. And I can shorten it.
Okay. All right, so we have 2 changes under that one with the rewrite you're working on and the one that Dora just brought up to make sure that we weren't missing.
I would like to, Margaret, if at all possible, I would like to include the words workforce development so that legislators have that understanding and to make that correlation. However it's phrased, but to have those words in there.
Okay,
Secondary education, you think college.
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to, let's look at bond debt reimbursement really quick before our time is out. So it seems like we want to personalize this more to ASD. Before we had more of a, it reflected what ASD needed. It reflected what our priorities were, kind of umbrella type. Now, but we really want to be a little bit more specific to ASD, which is fine. So we might have to, MJ, we might have to keep that in mind when we're doing the rewrites, because while every district will need transportation money, they won't necessarily need the same amount as ours. Some might need more, some might need less. Okay. Bond debt. Eliminate the current moratorium on state bond debt reimbursement for voter approved propositions. This will restore community support that is needed to reverse years of escalating deferred maintenance. And how did that come up in the joint meeting, Kelly?
I'm sorry, could you repeat your question?
Yeah, I'm just looking at how did bond debt reimbursement come up in the joint assembly meeting?
We are pretty focused on the BSA.
Okay,
So
all right.
I don't think that this statement is going to tackle the bond debt reimbursement.
Okay, all right. Okay. So, all right, so we have enough to kind of get us started, and we might need to have another meeting, Madam Chair, because we're not going to do all the edits here today. And MJ, how soon do you need to have some consensus? I mean, consensus around the price.
Can we get it done? Can we have it all solid by next Friday?
Next Friday?
Friday the,
I think it's the 10th.
We can certainly try. Madam Chair, are you open to another meeting?
I am, I might be on Zoom. I'm not sure if I'll be in town next week, but I can participate on Zoom.
I think we can do the whole thing on Zoom. We just need to figure out.
AASB is Thursday and Friday.
Oh, yeah. So, and I have them Monday as well. So MJ, can we do maybe next?
Yeah. I hear what you're saying. I'll sidebar with you.
Okay. All right. Okay, so I think the next step is for us to infuse the edits that we had today. And then get those to MJ to do just a write-up, a mock-up of what we think we want. And the things that are not there yet would be the workforce development, mention of workforce development, which is different than what we have in there right now. Infusing the amounts, both in the BSA and in the busing amount that are specific to ASD. And making sure that our, Kelly, can we get a draft of what you guys are working on with the assembly? Because I've not been able to attend those.
To have it's a little messy right now. So I will get something to you. I told them I'd push it out by the end of this week, so I'll get something back to you by then.
No problem. Okay. All right. All right. Does that sound like a plan?
Sounds like a plan.
I was just gonna say, if you guys were going to add the workforce development, you could just say, since it says support post-secondary, you could just say support post-secondary and workforce development opportunities. So that way you don't have to change it too much.
Yeah. And then maybe say including statewide. Yeah, we can put a couple of, that's a great idea. Who is that talking? I can't.
Shanice.
Oh, Shani, hey, yeah, okay. Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, yeah, that would work.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll get you louder, it's okay.
No, but good points.
No, those are great.
Okay,
Okay.
so between now and when we look at the resolution for under the BSA, we may have some more changes, but right now we'll wait until we see the work that the joint assembly ASD is doing on the BSA resolution to make sure they are aligned.
I have one question. So with the BSA, to be as brief as possible, my proposal would be something like reverse 8 years of near static education funding by increasing the BSA by no less than $14.13 per student, providing for a mechanism to adjust it for inflation. And then the question is, do we want to talk about like adequate funding, which is, right, we have our PICUS audit and adequacy study, which is a totally different paradigm than backfilling and getting us to ground zero.
Wait, I'm gonna interrupt because we're at 1:59. Are we okay extending another 5 minutes or 10 minutes?
Sure.
Since
I
we
think
started,
we were late getting started.
we started 10 minutes late, so I just wanted to clarify before we.
And
hit time.
maybe in the future, we need to schedule them at least, maybe we give each, schedule them an hour and 15 minutes apart.
Yeah.
Or at least, so that way if we run over, so, you know, finance, you'll start at like 12:15. And Dora, you'll start at like 1:15 or something, I don't know. Because we do this every single week, a month.
Okay, sorry to interrupt, Kelly, go ahead. Now that we've extended.
Well, I guess it's just a question of how bold is a BSA ask? Right, are we asking for enough to continue operations as normal? Or are we asking for enough to provide for an adequate education for our students? Because those are different things.
Are we talking in the ask or the amount?
Well, it's a broader, I mean, 1413 stops the immediate bleeding. An adequate funding, a whole different ballgame.
You're gonna get the same reaction we got from, what's his name? What was the guy's name? That I think, because if you put $18,000 in there, Kelly, that is not gonna, that's gonna be a show for everybody.
Okay, all right. Well, I will email you,
So I think we need to kind of go with what would keep us alive right now. And then, because people that the Picus Odin report, it's up to the board, I guess. If you guys want to be that bold and if you want to step out there with an $18,000 increase, because knowing that it's not going to happen.
Okay. Well, I've got two brief statements that would just be adjustments for what our current priorities are.
Okay.
At this point, I feel, me personally, I feel like we need to have a reasonable ask with the hope for a reasonable response.
Okay.
Really.
All right, I've just sent those potential words to you.
And Amanda,
You want me to pull it up? Sure.
okay, so. Okay, increase student transportation, but I see it, 189 per student. Okay.
Yes.
Compensate 8 years.
Compensate. Yeah, it should say compensate for 8 years.
Yeah.
There's cushion typos there.
Okay. All right. All right, that looks good. And then the only other thing is the invitation, which Amanda just had up a little bit before. It looks good to me, but once you guys approve it, we can get it out, Madam Chair.
Is this the legislative luncheon invitation that you're referring to?
And I don't know, do we know what the menu is going to be? Do we need to talk about that? Amanda, do you have that?
I'm working with King Tech. I'm sure it'll be similar to last year, but different enough that it's a little bit of a variety. But we don't ever put the menu on the invitation.
No, I don't want it on the invitation. I wanted the committee to have if you needed input from the committee, then
I think
the only time you have.
it'll be, if Member Wilson, if you're okay with it, it'll be similar to last year, a salad, an entree, and a dessert.
That's perfect.
Okay.
Whatever they can accommodate. Do
And
we want
Amanda, remember we were going to invite our union presidents or whoever those, what do they call themselves? Representatives or whatever. We were going to invite them this time.
Yeah.
And invite our student rep, probably maybe officers from the SAE.
Okay, sounds good.
So I hope the numbers work out. So
partners, Margot?
Huh?
We're talking about verbiage. How about our labor partners?
What partners?
Labor partners.
Labor?
You were
Yeah,
talking-
that's what I just, yeah, the union presidents. Our union.
Your labor leadership partners or something like.
Yeah, that would be AEA, Local 959, Local 71, ACE, whoever those leaders are. Totem,
What words?
I think it should be 8 of them, right?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
MJ's team's gonna work on that as well. Okay. Any
All right.
other comments, questions? President Bellamy, anything?
No,
I love
ma'am.
the teddy bear in the background, by the way.
Huh?
I love the teddy bear in the background.
Oh. Nana Teddy.
Anyone else at the table?
No,
No?
I'm good, I'm solid.
Kelly's gonna move to adjourn.
I'm not a member of your committee.
Oh, wait. Andy?
Yeah, well, she ain't got many in the room. Andy can move.
So moved.
I second. I got in trouble for helping out before. Thank you, guys.